The camera is rolling, so
Okay.
Go ahead, Chris.
First of all, let me get your name
My name is Charles Woods, but everybody calls me Charlie. But my people in my hometown at Boone's Mill call me Pete. So
Pete. How do you get Pete?
my daddy done that when I was born in '38. Had an old mule named Pete. That's what he told me.
All right, tell me a little bit about yourself. Growing up, where you're from, what you've done, and where we are now.
Well, grew up on a farm at Boone's Mill. We moved there in '48, and then I got a job at Marita Bakery in '55. My dad worked at the bakery, and he got me a job. I paid $1.20 an hour. And worked I don't know, you had to work 3 months, 6 months, something. You got I think a nickel raise, might have been, something like it, wasn't much. Worked there a few years and then got into the excavating business in about 60, or 2 or 3 or something like that. Stayed in it till 2007, I reckon.
Mhm.
And that's all done. Laid big pipe, little pipe, and everything.
Now, so, tell me about your just an overview of your What have you collected here?
Well, it's tomato started with this one right here. Otis Giles. And I've been collecting probably close to 30 years now, 25 anyway.
All right. And just for the benefit of the video, what we'll try to do is not have me asking you the questions. So I'll
25 or 30 years. Then Mr. Giles gave 3 of these to a neighbor, and he gave me one of them. Well, we collect back and forth, and he does old engines and stuff, and we play with it. And
So what's his relation to the OG Giles?
none,
None?
just a
Really?
neighbor, just a neighbor, just no. And about
No, okay, here we go. All right.
Okay, we're rolling.
All right. Okay, so tell me what you're collecting here.
well, this is tomato canning factory. I started just tomato labels, but it got into everything else. This one here's a kraut label, and got beef labels. You know, here's a beef one here from down Bedford, SM thing. And I just was going to do tomatoes, but it didn't work that way. Some gentleman came from Baltimore down here one day and tried to buy my labels, and I didn't let him have them. I let him have a few. But anyway, when he got ready to go, he said, well, Benz, I'll wool you over a little bit. I'll give you some labels. So he gave me all of those. I got the Apple box labels and stuff like that. And that's how come I collect them. But now I've got probably 25 of the hog head labels went on a barrel of apples. I got some of them downstairs hanging on the wall. But Ferrum's got the book with them in it. And they reproducing them. You know, and I just kept collecting, and it's got expensive. Nobody don't give me none no more.
So when you find a label that you've never seen before, what do you do? Do you start trying to figure out where it came
Yeah,
from?
yeah.
Okay, tell
Oh,
me
yeah.
about that process.
Well, we know where they came from. We got a North American Canners Association book. It's got an address in there and a year and everything, so you know where it's at. And like this old factory building, right out here on Hardy Road, and most of it's still standing. The lady that owns it now would have gave me the whole factory. But a big old boiler there, had to have a crane to move it and all that's nice to die. Well, she sold it to a guy in Ferrum, and he said he was going to put it back up. But it wound up in somebody else's hands in North Carolina. You know, he was in it to make some money.
So if you get this Rocky Hollow sauerkraut label, for instance, how do you, and that's from Salem.
right?
How do you, so you go to this canning book,
Well, yeah, sort of. You find that, but the guy that's the Beeson now, the son here, it says Beeson and son, but his son still lives, and somebody told me his address, a name, something. I looked in the phone book and found his address. I went up to his house. Well, I already had this one. He said, "Well, I'll just give you the other one." Daddy canned kraut, tomatoes, and the factory was at Salem. Just where you run out of Salem to start the 4-lane going up the mountain there. It's a beer factory in there now, where the factory was. And he told me that, I forget, he told me how many 1,000 cans of tomatoes and stuff they'd do a year. I mean, it was a whole bunch of them.
so tell me a little bit about the history of canning as you understand it, and I guess from the point of view of take us, follow us, or take us from where the tomatoes being grown to where it winds up on a grocery store shelf back in those days.
Oh, okay. Well, the wife's granddad, he died before she was born. He started around 1900. And he canned tomatoes. He had a factory down here at Chambersburg. Well, it was Goodview then, I think. But anyway, and he canned several thousand cans of a year. He bought the tomatoes from, I guess, the whole neighborhood. Everybody would sell him on 50 bushels or whatever. And he canned them, and they was all shipped to Louisiana. And I don't know why they went there, but anyway, that was the people that bought all these tomatoes. And he canned them here. And when they paid, some of them had a card that they hung around their neck and they punched a hole in it every time they peeled a bucket. They got from 1.5 cents to about 10 cents a bucket, and as years come on up. And we found one of the tokens that her granddaddy paid with at an auction sale. It was in a bunch of junk, and my sister bought the box, and she said, "I don't want that there." Well, as soon as we seen it, we knew what it was. So I've got them framed up in a frame there with Ferrum. And I think they're going to use that frame on the wall. This display's supposed to stay up over there for a year. So anytime anybody needs to really see a lot of labels, and I don't have it, the old Ferrum. Before 1925, the lid that went on the can was sorted on with lead solder. I've got a set of the irons that done that in the display over there. And in 1925, Mr. Sinclair told me that they quit using the irons, and that's when Piedmont Label, not Piedmont, but the Virginia Can Company and all furnished them a capping machine. They wouldn't give it to them, wouldn't sell it to them, they rented it. So, they was in it to make some money.
So
Okay, go ahead and ask the question
They-
again, Chris.
okay, so who? I guess the question is, where did the labels come from? Who created the labels and for who?
Well, in 1917 or 1918 is when Piedmont Label went in business, and they only was doing local labels. Well, in a year or two, it spread out, went everywhere. And they had all these artists that drawed these. Well, like this gentleman that drawed them two, I talked to him about a year ago, and he let me have those labels. He had kept, he might have had 50 or 100 that he just liked them. He said, "I kept them when I retired. Didn't know what I was going to do with them, but he let me have about 20 or 25 that I didn't have." And like I say, I was trying to get strictly tomato labels. Well, you see a kraut one jumps up, beef one jumps up, and it happens to be another neighbor that around.
So canning was a pretty large industry back in those days, or I guess it's a large industry now still. But it's all done in one. Canneries a community might have, like in this area, for instance.
Well, I'd probably go around in this area within 5 or 10 miles and count 20. The wife grew up across the mountain on what they call Bowaga. Well, up the creek, well, most of the time it was on the creek, because they could dump their peelings in, wash them away, and get rid of it. And I got to checking on them here a while back. The wife's father run a canning factory on Bowaga for Noah Lawhorn, I think 37 or 38 and 39, 3 years in canned tomatoes. And he had bought that farm, give $1,300 for it, and he said he canned enough tomatoes in 3 years to pay for the farm. That's how he got it.
So a cannery were these fairly small operations, or how big an a cannery be?
They probably have a dozen people working there. I got some of the records somewhere in there. It tells how much they paid a day and how much they made and when it was paid and all of this.
And I guess it was seasonal work.
Yeah.
And they would get paid to, you were saying, to peel the tomatoes?
Right.
Because I guess these are stewed tomatoes.
They put them in a big steam vat until the peeling come loose, and then they peel them on, put them in a can, and cooked it. And then they was steamed in the can.
Amazing. What you can find out from each one, and give me a time frame for some of them, just to,
Well, this one here is 1936 at the Beaver Dam, and that had to be out here on 24 down in that area because that's where the Beaver Dam area is. And like this one was up Salem, this one was, that Mr. Giles was on Hardy Road, but he had 2 uncles and a brother that canned under a different label. Oh, they was over on across the mountain, over toward Blue Ridge.
So tell me about the name of the name of the brand.
Well,
Is that the farm or is that the cannery? Or is
I
that
guess that's a cannery. It says Shady Run brand, and then he's got packed by O.G. Giles.
So, did Giles run the Sandy Run?
Yeah,
cannery?
yeah, he
Okay.
run it. He owned it.
Okay, because you'll see. What was I looking at before? You'll see different names on the same kind of, like Fancy Grove
yeah.
here, Ray Martin. Okay, there's Ray Martin there as
Yeah.
well. It's confusing.
It's a generic, just a generic item of the labels. I presume Piedmont label, if they made a generic and the next guy, whatever he wanted, they just used the same one because it was cheaper, I imagine, I would think. Yeah.
So who would design these?
Well, Piedmont label had people hired that was artists that would draw. Well, that gentleman that, I can't even think of his name now, but anyway, he said he worked there for 30-some years or so doing that.
And they would come up with a design, and then they'd have blank places where they would put the name of the cannery or the name of the farmer, or would there be the name of the farmer? I don't know.
Some of them would, you'd see that. But anyway, once in a while you'll find one in the middle, it'll be blank. They call that a generic one that they could put somebody else's name in it.
I guess the sauerkraut one would show
Yeah.
where it has the name in there in the middle.
Yeah, see how he just put his name in the middle. And it's probably somebody else used the same label with just changing the Rocky Hollow and that.
Okay, show me your very first one again. I think it was this one.
O.G. Giles.
So tell me about how you found that and how and what attracted you to the labels from that.
Well, he gave Richard Aliff 3 of them, and we just started from that. I've always collected something old or something. You can look up top up there and see. But and I just started from that, and I can't remember who I got the next one. I don't remember what the second one was.
How long ago did you start? What year did you start
I
collecting?
don't know what year, about 30 years ago.
Oh, okay, so you've been at
Yeah,
this
yeah.
a long time.
Yeah. But if I'd have knew now, then I'd have got a whole lot more. But that,
So what is there a story about the Roanoke area in these labels that you see? What does it say to you about our history to look at these?
all right. In Bedford County, Botetourt County, a little of Franklin County, and some toward Christiansburg, the soil was right to grow a better tomato. And that's the reason it was in this area. And, you know, back when, from 1900 on up, the family was needing a few dollars to eat on and everything. That was a way to do it. And they found a way to grow tomatoes. Well, like a wife's dad said, he planted 3 crops 3 years, and he got the $1,300 he needed to pay for the old farm. But and he didn't have a label. Her dad didn't. Her granddad did. But I don't know where it's in some of this stuff around here. And I got her granddad's label. It came out of the trash can at Piedmont Label. Some guy went down there. Somebody called him and told him he's throwing some stuff away, and he went and then he got it and happened to be her. We didn't know that he even had a label until we found the label.
So Piedmont Label, that tell me where that is.
It's in Bedford.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
still there, or
It's still there, but it's changed names. It's something else now.
do they still print things? Or?
Yeah, oh yeah, there's still a big printing press. Big.
It wouldn't have been. I wonder if that's Bison now. There's a large printing company, Chris Beiser runs over in that area. That I wonder if that was born out of that.
More than likely.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when the Ferrum College went and asked them about the old labels. See, I've been taking these to Ferrum and showing them off for 10, 15 years. And they got thinking, well, why don't we do a display over here in the museum? We did one on apples a few years ago. And then he decided to do this and went to Piedmont and got all of these labels that they didn't have no more need for, really.
When you go to the grocery store, I don't know what my question is, but what do you think when you see, you know, this like
Well,
Hunts and Del Monte?
Hunts and Del Monte is on everything anyway. You know, it's got to be the big factories and stuff like that to do that. Yeah.
Or do you think we're missing something by not knowing where?
Yeah. Well, no, we can. Wife cans all every year. She's got tomatoes in the basement can now, and canned pork tenderloin and whatever, green beans. And
Does she have a label? We should.
well, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. She'll have what it is on there, the jelly and stuff. She makes jellies and jams, and gives for Christmas presents.
So she's good to know around Christmas time.
Yeah.
What else? What do you have a favorite label?
Well, it'd have to be O.J. Giles. I mean, that's the first one I got. It would have to be the favorite. Now that one right
This
there.
one's pretty amazing. Can you tell me anything about it?
Oh, let's see. 10 or 15 years ago, a lady called me one night. Her husband was Billy Johnson, graduated from school with the wife. She said, I cleaned out a lady's house recently, and I found 4 or 5 labels. Do you want them? I said, sure do. And I think she told me who it was, and I said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. She just down the road here, 5 or 10 miles, and I said, weekend, I'll drop by there and get them. Well, she rolled them up and put them in a tube, and they come in the mail the next day. I got 4 of them. That's an original there.
That's the most astonishing looking
Yeah.
label I've ever seen. I think that's just absolutely beautiful.
It is, there's no doubt about it.
And what do you know about the company, where that came from?
Just know it came from over at Ferrum, and we can't find out anything much. Most of the older people that would know about this are gone now, and we don't. Should have started 15 years ago.
Can you just hold that up so I can see it on the camera so we'll have a reference? Thank you. There you go. All right.
There's some very tiny writing on it, but I'd never be able to see it with my 50-year-old eyes. I don't know. Dave, you have glasses on, you might be able to.
It's a Lithia company that's printed this, but I can't tell where it's at, and it's too little.
Beans with pork. All right, tell me, you roll? There you go. Charlie, tell me a little bit about Shawnee Springs.
I know very little about that. I didn't even, somebody just gave it to me, and I didn't really, there's no,
All right.
now, I
It's just fascinating. Okay. Anything on Little Linville there?
yeah, that's in Franklin County, down on Hardy Road. Yeah, and don't know much about that.
You have a time frame or anything?
Well, that's gonna be in the 30s up. Yeah, and go by the, looking at the label.
All right. What can you tell me about? Read that one and then tell me.
Dinwiddie Canning Company, Davis Mills, at Moneta. Now, I don't know where that was at down there. But it's hand-packed tomatoes.
Tell me a little
Oh, now this is a
bit. Go ahead and read where it's from and everything.
Oh,
too.
it's
So-
Miss Virginia.
I'm sorry, start again because I was talking. Go ahead.
Oh, Miss Virginia. It's packed at Christiansburg, Canning Company at Pulaski. And it's a 1935 label by Christiansburg Canning Company. And it's Miss Virginia.
No idea if that's the real Miss Virginia. We should look that up. I bet we can find something out online. Tell me about.
Now that one, you're gonna find about 8 or 10 from this one here and there. They went all the way from Canada, Virginia, and South Carolina, and Florida, and Texas, and C.T. Markham, or G.J. Markham, and Lowry. And they was a large broker in tomatoes, and they canned all kind of beans and stuff.
Here's a peaches. Looks like.
Yeah, that's more what Henry, Perlman Switch over next to Philpott Dam.
Wow. Any idea the age on that one? I wonder.
No, but it's not a Piedmont label. It's earlier than that. It's you can't.
When did Piedmont start operations?
1917 or 1918.
Okay. And that one is Thaxton.
Yeah, Haney McMillan. He had a brother that it's gonna have a label in there somewhere to can at the same time. Haney McMillan. Yep, Thaxton, Virginia. Homegrown tomatoes.
Now, what's the difference with these that are curved? What, and those are both slightly, do they go around a...
I went around bushel basket. See, a basket's not straight; it's curved. So the label's made to fit that. And Martinsburg, West Virginia, is where this black line. And I think it's one in there with a peach. Well, this is peach. It's one in there with an apple on it too.
That's an old one. How about that?
North Hill. That was Mr. Otis Giles' uncle. And it's a Piedmont label, and it's a 1935.
Now you've got these Rocky Hill things. Tell me, show us and tell me a little bit about each of those items there.
All right, that's Mr. Open Chain from over at Nace, and that was his label, and let's see, and it's gonna be earlier than 30, and Piedmont didn't do that one. That's a picture of the old factory with the workers standing in front of it, and that's, the lady thinks that picture was made like 1925, 28, 30, somewhere in that range. She didn't.
Are those wooden boxes?
Those are wooden boxes because it's got a tomato printed on the end of them. And so we know that that was before 1925 when they went to paper. And then here's one of Mr. Openchain's letters that he got from Riverside Manufacturing Company, Murfreesboro, North Carolina, where he bought stuff from them. They were trying to sell him, and he's made some of his records where he's been adding, saving paper. Yeah.
And what's that? Is that a contract?
This is a contract
What is that
here.
between the,
Virginia Canning Company, Mr. E.P. Openchain, and it's dated 1923, March 1st.
okay, so is Mr. Obenchain, was he the farmer or the?
He was both.
Oh,
Both.
okay, and the can.
Yeah.
Okay, so and that contract then is for purchasing empty cans.
Empty cans. Says 2,000 cases of number 2 sanitary cans.
How much did they pay for that?
2.5 cents a case.
All right, there's one other thing I wanted to grab over here that I suddenly remembered.
Wasn't it, and company.
Can you start that over again? Because I wasn't rolling.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead and just start it over.
This is the bill head from Mr. C.C. Boynton and Company. He and his 2 sons, C.O. and H.J. Boynton, run the canning factory from about 1900 to up close to 50. Somewhere close. And this is where September 22nd, 1925, he bought from A.N. Mills 62.5 bushels of tomatoes, 50 cents a bushel. And they was probably delivered to this factory for that.
So they would go out. They were the canners. They bought tomatoes from a farmer, and they bought cans from a can maker and labels from.
Piedmont or somebody else back in, yeah.
I'm starting to
Yeah.
piece this together. Tell me about this gentleman.
That's Mr. G.L. Howard from up at Elliston. He sold Norfolk and Southern, or the railroad company, his farm to put a railroad, what they call, intermodal station in up there. And I asked him, well, he's 16 years there then, but he's 75 now or so. I asked him why'd he sell it. He said, well, they really didn't want to, but said they had more money than they had sense. So when they're going to talk to an old farmer here about millions of dollars,
Well, so what's he doing in that picture?
he's steaming the tomatoes. He's getting ready to lift them out of the steam vat. He'll put them on the table for the ladies to take the peeling off of them.
So if he's 75 now and he's 16 then, that
Yeah.
would have been 60 years ago?
Yeah, close
So-
at it.
So, all right. And then some of those might have wound up, well, probably not, but who knows? Tell me about that.
That was a label that went on the cans that were shipped to the troops overseas. And we got a little letter from somewhere I can't find it now, that one of the troops from local here found a label from one of the Markham's can here. And he peeled the label off and shipped it back to Mama. Yeah. But 24 number 10 can, 2.5 can. That's a what we call a gallon can now, but it's not.
And tell me about this label and
All right, this has got to be an old one because it's got the 1906 Food Act on it. It passed some kind of act in that said guaranteed by Pfizer and Wilkerson to comply with the Food and Drug Act of June the 30th, 1906. And I can chase that back to about 1905.
And then,
This one chases back the same way. Let's see, there's a number on it, but it's not a Piedmont label. I knew that, but it. Bedford City, right in Saunders.
all right, so you've been collecting these for about 35 years?
35 years,
How
something
many
like that.
labels do you think you've collected?
Oh, well, it's misleading, that is. Several years ago, here at Boone's Mill, Okanichi Orchard was going to can apple cider, make cider and vinegar. Well, two brothers were supposed to run it or something anyway. They fell out. They never did can none. Well, one of the men that worked there happened to be a cousin. He called me one day and said, "Come by here, I'll give you some of them labels." So he gives me a pack. It's 1,000 labels in it. Of all of the labels he had, 8 or 10 of them. So you see, it's misleading. I got 10,000 of those labels. So, you know.
Okay, how many different labels do you think you have, or, you know?
Somewhere's around in Bedford County, close to 200 different ones out of Bedford County. And in Botetourt County, it's not quite that many. And Montgomery County, it's several over there. Franklin County, it's getting up in the 40s.
Do tomatoes today taste as good as they did when you were a kid?
I don't think so, but
What's wrong with tomatoes today?
well, they've done interbred them to get them firmer and bigger and all of that. And she went away from the old Rudka tomato or a Marglobe that they done back in the, yeah. Yeah, if you didn't grow Rudkas or Marglobe, and then a big boy came out back in his 50s or 60s, and my dad and them they planted them then. Because it got a bigger tomato and go up on a steak.
I'd give you anything for tomato right now. What am I missing?
I'm gonna cut.
You're gonna have to show this too. Look at this, the hominy and the sausages. Oh man. Why did I ate a half bowl of oatmeal this morning.
Should have grits.
Should have had grits and.
See, that's all white hominy.
All right, I'm rolling if
So
we
these are the
go-
stacks that.
Yeah, I got stacks of these, you know. Mr. Huff that owned this, he owned Lehigh Bottling Company in Roanoke, and this factory was in Floyd. Go past through Floyd, and it's the first on County Factory Road. And when his son gave me, well, he had them stacked up, said, "How many you want?" I said, "Well, I don't need all of them." So I just took a handful out of each one of them. And that's a Piedmont label too, so.
So how many? We talked about how many canneries were in this in the tight area around here, but you had said there were some pretty big numbers of canneries back in the day. Back in, I think you said Boone's Mill in that area.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about how many there would be in a community.
Well, now, you go out 220 to Boone's Mill, and when you cross into Franklin County, turn right up Naff's Road. And I know that it was either 12 or 14 factories up in 5, 8, 10 miles up that road. And a lot of them went back to 1900. And it's several of them. I got labels in one of the other books in there that kind of says, substantiates that it was there.
And so when this stuff was canned, you said some of the stuff went to, I think, Louisiana or.
Yeah.
Once you canned your food, where would it go? It wasn't always local at all. was
No,
it?
no.
So tell me a little bit, I guess a little bit more about how that
Let me
worked.
get another
Okay.
one. Come out.
All right, hang on, he's gonna.
All right, cameras roll.
All right.
Out of Franklin County. I was up at well, Callaway is what it's called. If you go up Parkway and come down into Callaway, I was told now there was 5,000 acres in this orchard. And I knew it was huge. And they grew Albemarle pippin apples, and they were shipped overseas in a, let's see, 2 3/4 bushel barrel.
And what does Algoma mean?
That was just the name of the little town, little area.
And there's no I've never heard a reference to Algoma before, so it
Well,
would just be a,
it's all been sold and cut up into houses and everything. I go to Ferrum, it's always say somebody said, I bought a piece of land up at Algoma in that orchard. And I said, well, I'll just give you a label. So people take them, frame them, hang them on the living room walls and stuff.
we used to live out in Woburn, out at the West End of Salem, near Dixie County. And every little area had its own name.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
All right, what do you have here?
All right, this is a record, 1938. The guy worked at the canning factory at, it was laying here somewhere, right there, Sandy Ford. And this gentleman, he's still living. And he worked, let's see, I don't know what he was doing. Anyway, he's 71 and a quarter hours plus 15. He got $14.29, and they took 14 cents Social Security out of him. And that's no way. He got $26 or whatever he done. Let's see. Now I don't know what he done. These here done for 30 cents. It says 30 cents for J.H. Thomas. That's when they got Social Security cards. They got numbers now. Paid in October the 8th, 1941. He sold him tomatoes. Yeah, that's tomatoes. How many bushels? One day he had 28 bushels. Got 30 cents a bag, a box, a bushel.
So was this person, this was a farmer who sold them tomatoes, was he paid sort of like an employee then?
Well, I don't know. I just noticed, started taking Social Security out in 38, 39, somewhere in that area.
Uh-huh.
But it's,
I'm reading a book right now about the New Deal and what a huge role the South played in that, and it's really weird how all this is like right here.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
and so this guy's essentially, this is
Aubrey Bowyer. And I saw him, let's see, we saw him in a restaurant, he and his wife eating here just recently. He can't, he don't get around too swift now. I'm going to say he's 90 years old probably.